Dota 2 has a lot of different heroes. So many of them, in fact, that you probably don't even remember the specifics of who you played against last. In the grand scheme of Dota 2, if you're going up against the support Vengeful Spirit, it's not necessarily going to be all that different from going up against the support Shadow Shaman. There are a few heroes, though, that completely change how you approach the game, and the most notorious among them is Techies. Anyone who's played Dota 2 for any length of time has a horror story about Techies. Whether they win or lose, or whether they're playing with them or against them. It could be a small thing, like Techies cutting the wave to steal all the golden experience from your lane. Or it could be a big thing, like Techies dragging out a game for 2 hours en route to a loss. In almost every game, the end result is the same. All 10 players walk away a lot less happy than they entered it. So has Techies always been like this? And is there anything you can really do to prevent it? We're here for a deep dive into Dota 2's most hated hero. So let's go over the history of the Techies real quick. In Dota 1, the Techies were based on the Goblin Sappers unit, a holdover from Warcraft 2. Sappers worked differently from most other Warcraft units. They didn't have any attacks or abilities. All you would do is right-click on an enemy unit or structure, and they would run at it and explode. That general mechanic was a standard for Blizzard going forward in RTS games, with StarCraft 1 having Scourges, and StarCraft 2 having Banelings. When Techies was first introduced in Dota 1, it actually only kept that suicide mechanic as its ultimate. That explosive mechanic was expanded with the addition of proximity mines and stasis traps. For a lot of its history, Techies actually had a third ability that boosted its carry potential by giving it amplified right-click damage. Eventually, the Suicide Squad attack ability was moved into his regular moveset, with his new ultimate being the remote mines. Techies has been tweaked many times in the years since, but for the most part, he's actually the same hero he was back in version 5.
There's 2 ways to win Dota: kill the ancient and then kill their self-esteem. And the best games is when you do both.
What
Techies!
is wrong with you?
Now, Techies might sound annoying, but in reality, he's actually an incredibly bad hero. Seeing the hero picked or banned in professional games is incredibly rare. It's far more common than not to see the hero go unpicked and unbanned in professional events. The reason for that is because with any level of coordination, the hero just doesn't hold up. He has some viable early game pushing ability because of his Q, but outside of that he doesn't actually have much going on. The trouble is that when you're playing in a pub game, there's a pretty good chance that you're not actually going to have any level of coordination. It can be incredibly difficult to convince your supports to actually buy sentry wards. And organizing things like spacing and distance is really tough when half your team has you muted. And that's where Techies' greatest strength lies. If you can't attack him properly, you're probably not going to be able to attack him at all. Because of that, players will just hold back and wait and hope for somebody to make a play. That has the effect of dragging games on for a really long time. And if Techies is partnered with a hero like Anti-Mage or Medusa, well, that means you're in for a really long, really bad game. That fact isn't lost on actual Techies players either. Anyone that's played Dota 2 for any length of time knows how toxic the community can be. Techies is a hero that thrives on the lack of communication in pub games, and players that use him are capable of rising through the ranks pretty quickly if they can learn the tricks. That's resulted in a strong number of dedicated Techies players, and that dedicated group of players has resulted in Techies being among the most banned heroes at every level of ranked play. So what can you do if you're matched against the Techies? Well, the short answer is to just do your job. If you're a support, make sure you're buying wards so your team knows where it's safe to push. And if you're a carry, make sure to listen to your team because you're not going to be able to win a 1 versus 5 in all likelihood. And remember, Dota is a team game. If you have good coordination and good communication, Techies isn't that big of a deal. Just make sure you're working together to know where the mines are planted, where it's safe to push, and when to start a team fight. If you and your team are working together, there's a decent chance you'll be able to take out Techies without a problem. But who are the Techies of CSGO, and who are the Techies of League of Legends? We're actually going to be discussing this in upcoming videos, so make sure you subscribe and like this video. And if you're a Techies player, well, leave a comment and tell us about where your life went wrong.